How are you defined? The bio, the intro, your elevator speech, your pitch deck, the line underneath your name on a business card, how your parents describe you to their friends, what your girlfriend or your wife or your husband says about you to strangers, what you tell yourself when it's dark and everyone is sleeping except for you, the dash on your gravestone. Yes, all this may sound heavy, but when you dedicate your life to something, whatever that may be, this is what's at stake, your definition. For a few select individuals, very unique creatures on this big, bold earth, how they are defined to themselves and to their peers, to their friends, to their enemies, comes down to what happens on 5 days in a year. More specifically, what they do or don't do on those days, on 5 Sundays. Previously, on 5 Sundays, Edmonton Impact had answered the critics in Las Vegas and took the victory and the early lead in the NXL series. The Russians stormed into Texas and stole the show away from local heroes AC Dallas, becoming the team to beat. Now the battle heads to Philadelphia. It's midway through the year. Excuses for poor performance are evaporating. The squads are solidifying. The top 10 teams do battle on Sunday, Paintball's most important day. After their disappointing 6th place finish at the last event in Texas, Impact needed to do well in Philadelphia to reassert themselves at the top of the overall rankings. They only lost one game in the prelims, but during that one loss, they took a 0-6 beating from San Diego Dynasty. They went 3-1, beating Aftermath by 2, the ML Kings by 6, and Damage by 1. In the wildcard round, Impact had a rematch against Tampa Bay Damage. This was Damage's first appearance on Sunday in 2019. Though still stacked with longtime stars, players who had all tasted wins and championships in the past, they had been underperforming for over a year, since the beginning of the 2018 season. Damage had brought Keith Brown back onto the squad to give them more consistent firepower on the Snake side. After a 12th and 15th place to start out the 2019 season, Damage also brought back Brian Smith and coach Joey Blue. Keith Brown and his boys from Florida would match up in the first set Sunday morning against his former team to determine who would move on. Other than the prelim loss to Impact, Damage looked good in their first 3 matches, taking 3 victories.
They played Impact to a 3-2 game yesterday. It was a close game, so...
Damage came in, yes they did. Damage came into this event ranked 14th.
Though Impact lost Justin Rabikoff at the start of the first point, Alex Goldman came out aggressive, attacking the Snake side, eventually getting the drop on Keith Brown. Zach Yakimek picked up where Goldman left off, and Justin Cornell pushed up the D side, but Damage held strong. Jacob Edwards made a move on Laval in the center. Smith traded out with Yakimek, and Jason Edwards was able to stay alive and take the first point and the early lead. Damage lost Keith Brown at the start of the next point when Justin Rabikoff shot him off the break. Then Smith died trying to fill out wide towards the Snake side, and with no presence on that side of the field, Impact swarmed forward, trapping Damage in the back spots towards the D side. Impact made quick work the last 3 players. They tied the game at the perfect point. The attack into the Snake continued for both teams in the next point, as both Brown and Goldman went in off the break. But Brown was clipped looking inside, and then Damage again also lost Smith. Goldman took the reins, running through with Zach Yakimek and Justin Cornell. They finished off the point. Now down 1, Keith Brown and Jacob Edwards came out for blood. Jacob quickly pushed up the D side onto Impact's side of the field, and once the guns turned, Brown came through the Snake side and pillaged his way through Impact's line with a 3-pack to tie the game.
Run through the highway, the inside route, and Keith Brown smokes Goldman, stays alive, and gets a 2-pack. What a beautiful move. There's 3 kills. Keith Brown just won this game here, or won this point for Tampa Bay Damage to tie it up. That was an absolutely filthy move from Keith Brown.
Sick.
Whew.
Then for the second point in a row, Damage was able to shoot an Impact body off the break. Smith got the inside shot on Justin Rabikoff to make it a 4-on-5. But Justin Cornell got a shot on Jason Edwards to even up the count. Keith Brown then landed a left-handed snapshot on Goldman and moved up to shoot Cornell cross-field to get another 2-pack and give Damage the 1-point lead. Impact's tournament was on the line with just 4 minutes to play. They sent Goldman to the Snake off the break. Damage took all the back spots and tried to play conservative to hold on to the lead. Both teams started to lose bodies as the last few minutes ticked off the clock. It came down to a 3-on-4 with Nick Laval, Zach Yakimek, and Alex Goldman pushing forward to try to tie the game. But Damage held the line and sent Impact home. Damage moved on to the quarterfinals, and Edmonton Impact finished in a frustrating 9th place.
30 seconds.
Good fucking job, Jacob!
fucking way to me, Tim. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Yeah, motherfucker.
So yeah, we just got done playing Impact. Crazy game. They went down 2-1. As always, they're one of the best teams, so attacking when you're down is pretty tough. So we kind of decided, let's switch it up. Let's really key up on the guys off the break. We did towards the end. We hit a few guys off the break. I was able to make some pushes down the snake side, pick a couple guys out, and we came out on top 4-2.
Making their third Sunday appearance in a row and their 7th in the past 8 events, Revo had become a consistent contender.
Yeah, so Baltimore Revo 3-1 this event, playing on Sunday. We're playing Infamous this morning. We're missing Dan Zaleski and Josh Pike, but we picked up Zupa from PC Katana, and he's doing really well. I'm feeling good about today. Yeah, it's a big confidence booster to know that 2 of our best guys, longtime 187 guys, off the field and we're still performing. I mean, having a deeper roster is really how you get from where we are today to the next level. Sunday Paintball, I think people are going to tighten up. I mean, we saw a lot of big runs to the Dorito side, to the Snake side, but there's 2 big lanes here from the tower and from the can, so I think people are going to tighten up, play Sunday Paintball, communicate, really control the field, and not make any mistakes.
They won their first 3 prelim games by 1 point, with wins against New York Extreme, Boom, and their wildcard opponents, Los Angeles Infamous. Infamous had shown their scrappy mentality. For their 3rd event in a row, they had lost both their games on Friday, and they had to win big in their next 2 matches to have a chance to move on. They roared back on Saturday with big wins over New York Extreme and Boom to squeak into the wildcard round at 2-2.
Served against Boom, and then they played really aggressive against AC. So we'll see which team of theirs shows up, but I definitely think we'll be able to key some of them up off the break and capitalize on that.
Infamous began the game being aggressive and sending Carl into the snake. Revo took all the back spots and sent Zupa to D2. Templeton gunned his way up the D side, and Zupa mirrored the move. Infamous's Brett Messer was shot out of the center, forcing Ryan Rodarte into a tactical retreat. Templeton went into the D side wedge, but he was shot, giving Revo a 4-on-2 high body situation. They closed it out to take the first point. Infamous answered in the next point. It was looking dire for them as they lost Thomas Taylor off the break, and then Carl in a gunfight. But down 3 bodies to 5, Infamous held strong. Drew Templeton stole the point, running down the D side with a 3-pack to tie it up. Infamous kept the pace in the next point, shooting Zupa off the break, and then Ryan Rodarte took ground in the center and caught Max Trailer moving into the snake. Down bodies, and knowing they'd played longer points this weekend, Revo was forced to concede to save time. It was now Revo's turn to answer. They got kills early on Cody Mikowski and Thomas Taylor. Zupa, Revo's new pickup, did work on the D side, and Matt Derula pushed up the center. Revo easily tied it up. Revo took the lead in the next point, and they went up bodies and forced Infamous's coach, Travis Lemansky, to make a tough decision to concede the potential winning point with under 2 minutes to play. With 1:29 left and the game on the line, O'Mara drew a penalty which destroyed their snake side. The veteran Thomas Taylor bullied his way and got the 2-pack to finish, and he tied the game to get his team into overtime.
Stacking up a 2-pack to tie this game up. Thomas Taylor playing the hero yet again on a bum ankle.
Thomas Taylor just getting it done.
The heart on this guy. See these last 2 players left alive here, and they're just trying to hold on for dear life. Thomas Taylor bullying him around in the center with some good running and gunning skills here as he comes through and gets those last 2 kills, and so that's going to help his chances here in the Top Gun title race.
In overtime, both teams lost their D-side attackers when Drew Templeton and Mike Zupa took the walk. Thomas Taylor tried to get into the snake, was shot on the attempt, giving Revo a 4-on-3 advantage. Max Trailer and Henry Sense made moves to finish Infamous off and get their team into the quarterfinals, where they would match up with San Antonio X Factor.
But we brought it back together, had a couple of good close points with them. It ended up being tied going into overtime. Got a quick 10-second point, let the guys get a breather, figure out the game plan. I went out there and just played a good slow point, ended up on top.
Thomas is a great player, and they had Drew as well. He's a great player as well, but I think the consistency throughout an event is where it gets kind of rough. Cody Mikowski is a great 2. Arguably one of their best players because he's so consistent. You can always count on him doing his job, but I feel like it's tough for them to get 5 guys on a layout that can all contribute.
Revo Infamous game was kind of more like a Wild Wild West type thing. I think Revo throughout the weekend was playing a little bit tighter than Infamous, and I think that showed because when bodies were dropped on Infamous, they didn't put themselves in good positions to either start to attack or defend, whereas Revo, they did, and that was Max Trailer, O'Mara, Derula. They'd plug those holes, whether it was on the snake side, the Dorito side, or up the middle. So You know, Revo got the win in overtime, and yeah, man, can't wait to play those guys next.
For Seattle Uprising, it had been a rough start to the 2019 NXL season. They took 16th in Vegas and 13th in Texas. Since going pro in 2016, they had shown the ability to beat some of the best teams in the league, but stringing enough wins together to make Sunday had been a tough proposition. This was their third time in the big show on Sunday, but their first appearance in Chicago of 2017. They emerged from the prelims in Philly with a 3-1 record, with wins over Elevation, Seattle Thunder, and the LA Ironmen, and they took a 3-point loss to Houston Heat. They have the talent to contend, with a solid starting five and threats in every position, but could they execute well enough to beat one of the best teams in the game in AC Dallas, their opponents in the quarterfinals? After their loss to the Russians in the finals at the last event, AC Dallas wanted nothing more than to storm into Philadelphia and finally earn the first place trophy. In the prelims, they mercy ruled Infamous, easily beat Boom and Revo, and then took a 1-point loss to New York Extreme. The 3-1 record was good enough to get them into the quarterfinals. A loss in the quarterfinals against a team ranked 16th overall heading into the third event would be a step backward for AC Dallas, one that they were determined not to take. The first point came down to a 2-on-2, which the Jackson brothers closed out clean to give AC Dallas the early lead. But Uprising answered right back. In the second point, both teams were wary to make mistakes and they carefully pushed up the field. Matty Olsevik got a nice crossfield shot on Brad McCurley and finished with a 2-pack run-through for 3 confirmed kills, shooting both the Jackson brothers to blow open the field and tie the game. The next 2 points went back and forth. In the razor-close third point, Matty Olsevik was the only body sent snake side for Uprising, and AC Dallas shot him on the break. Tommy Tucker got a kill on John Jackson, and Graham Arnold almost pulled off a low-body 1-on-2 situation, but he lost a 1-on-1 gunfight to TJ Danner, and AC Dallas took the lead. But Uprising tied it right back up the next point. Both teams lost a body on the break, and it was 4-on-4. TJ Danner went up to the center 50 on the break. Chaos set in as the bodies dropped, and a major penalty was assessed on Brad McCurley, and the game was tied. After a review, the commissioner, Jason Trojan, confirmed the major on Brad McCurley. AC Dallas had to play the next point 3-on-5. But with the help of a penalty on Uprising, AC Dallas was able to streak down the field and win a perfect point with 3 bodies alive to take the lead.
Occurrence, and they're going to get a minor penalty. Unbelievable that Uprising just let AC Dallas, they didn't even shoot anybody. Warring goes around the back corner bunker on the snake side, and Uprising, with a poor game plan, choosing to double up that back center. I mean, you're taking very little risk against only 3 guns. Oh my God, what an amazing point for AC Dallas here.
Then bodies dropped off the break and it came down to a 4-on-3 in favor of AC Dallas. AC shot Brandon Olson as he tried to get up to the center, and Uprising conceded to preserve time for a comeback. Down 2 with only a minute and 51 seconds left to play, Uprising stormed back in the next 2 points, with Borromeo and Arnold playing the heroes. AC Dallas's John Jackson drew a major penalty in the closing seconds to immediately give Uprising the point. The game went into overtime. In overtime, AC Dallas was back at full strength. Both teams lost a body on the break, but the difference came down to another inopportune penalty, which pulled out both the Jackson brothers. Uprising closed out the 4-on-2, and they sealed the upset come-from-behind victory to move on into the semifinals.
We knew what they were doing. We just had to do what we were supposed to do. And we realistically, we weren't even mad when we lost. All of us just kind of looked at each other and said, well, they didn't do anything different. They beat us doing what they were doing. We just let it happen in a sense. Like, obviously not letting it happen, but they played good and they beat us. But we knew it was going to be a tough match because they were playing good. Obviously, any team that makes Sunday, say generally, is going to be a good team. And it wasn't complicated. It was just very simple. And we got a minor in overtime, and that was it, yeah.
So was I that surprised? I mean, they went up against AC. They're both playing the same type of game plan. And honestly, AC left a lot in the tank in that match. I mean, Uprising was there to take it, you know what I mean? But AC definitely stepped on their foot a few times.
The first and second ranked teams in the NXL Pro Division would battle it out for Sunday survival in the quarterfinals. Though the Russians had been the dominant team midway through the 2019 NXL season, ranked first overall, and they were still the overall favorite at the event, they did look mortal in the prelims, relying more on individual play than teamwork. They won their first 3 prelim games against DMG, the Outlaws, and PC Katana, but gave up points, and they took a 2-point loss to X Factor. Houston Heat had a clean run through the prelims, with easy victories over Thunder, Uprising, and the Ironmen. but their win against last place Elevation was only by 1. Still with the 4-0 record, our current world champs retain their status as one of the favorites. But it's Sunday, and somebody had to go home.
Yeah, I don't really believe in luck. So what the Russian Legion has is, I think they're creating their own opportunities, and they built confidence. So they ended last year with losing to us with a horrible taste in their mouth. Like we ended up happy, right? So that whole offseason, we're enjoying it. The whole offseason, they're thinking about that, right? So they're coming into this year with a chip on their shoulder that's bigger than the chip we have. They have a very aggressive team now, and they're willing to use that aggressiveness. They don't play as mechanical as they used to play, which I think has helped them. So they use their weapons more, and then the better you do, the more confidence you get, the easier it is to play better. We had some anger with them. I mean, we have a good rivalry with Russian Legion. I don't think we ever looked past them, but I think we weren't looking at the overall game picture as much as we were looking to go out there and put them down and hurt them, and I think that can get in your mind sometimes too.
Houston Heat put up their first point, shooting Smotrov, Karsliev, and Kirill early, and the Russians conceded. The Russians turned it around in the second point, taking ground and staying alive. It was 5-on-5, but they had better field position, and they worked Houston Heat out of their spots to tie it up at 1 apiece. Heat got the next one when Karsliev tried to take a big bite off the break but didn't make it. Sergey was the next body to drop. It was 3-on-5, and Heat was able to close it out and win a perfect point with 5 bodies alive. But the Russians came right back to tie it up. They were able to drop a shot on Ronnie Dizon off the break and start 5-on-4. Smotrov then ran into a lane to throw away the high body situation. Heat gave a body back when Chad George got clipped. Karsliev pushed onto Heat side of the field and got the shot on Mishka Kiesnev. Malloy and Sergey combined to close out the point. With the score locked at 2, the Russians played the aggressors, with Kirill getting to the center 50 and Smotrov into the snake. Smotrov and Fedorov each made moves at the same time and traded out. Malloy then finished off the point with a clean 3-pack run-through to take the lead.
Here comes Brutnikov. He's going to shoot his former teammate. Run through, he gets 1, he gets 2, and does he get 3? He does, so...
And that's what I said we haven't been seeing from him. He hasn't had the opportunities to make those moves.
The Russians then extended their lead, shooting Ronnie Dizon on the break. Sam Monville received a minor penalty, and Mishka came off with him, and Heat immediately conceded. Heat needed 2 quick points to tie, and they helped themselves out by shooting Karsliev and Malloy off the break, and then Smotrov quickly thereafter, leaving just Kirill Pridny and Sergey Solnaiskov in a 2-on-4 with 1 minute and 21 seconds left. They couldn't hold on, and Heat charged forward with Chad George hitting the buzzer with 58 seconds left in regulation time. The Legion held the line in the last point and took the win, knocking Houston Heat out of the tournament and moving themselves in to the semifinals.
I mean, we're talking one mistake here or there dictates the whole game. So when you're seeing 1-point games, 1 kill the other way, 1 bounce another way, that changes the whole pace of the game, and that changes the whole confidence going into the next games. So I don't think it's lucky that they got where they were, but I think that they fought for it, and they earned their spot at the top for a short amount of time. A lot of really high pedigree at the top of pro paintball, and you're seeing a lot of good teams, probably, and a lot of good players, probably the best players that have ever played right now, playing against each other and making each other better.
As usual, San Antonio X Factor had no problems making the Sunday cut. They'd been a permanent presence on Sunday for the past 5 years. They hadn't been able to pull the trigger on a win since World Cup of 2013. In Philly, they handled everyone they faced in the prelims, even the winner from the last event, Moscow Russian Legion, who they beat by 2. But something was different at this event. Call it swagger, call it strategy, call it confidence, call it what you want. But X Factor was tired of playing second fiddle to the rest of the top teams. They looked like they were ready to win.
I mean, it's definitely a good confidence booster to beat the team to beat right now, but it really doesn't mean much because the real tournament starts tomorrow. But team morale is great, our communication is great, but we need to keep progressing over the match by match if we want to win this tournament.
They'd been sending Jesse Stevens and Archie Montemayor to different spots, switching up their game plans, making them harder to scout. But their whole team, and especially their starting 5 of Meter Niños, Billy Bernaccia, Rainey Stanzik, Colt Roberts, and Archie Montemayor, they were playing with the Gibraltar-sized chip on their shoulders. They wanted to win, and they were playing well enough to earn one. They would have to get past a tough Baltimore Revo who had just beaten Infamous in a slugfest to earn a berth in the quarterfinals. In the first point, X Factor was able to go up 4-on-5 when they shot Mike Zupa, the new pickup for Revo, off the break. But they lost Billy Bernaccia when he got caught on the loader in Snake 1. But then Revo lost Matt Derula. With the one-body advantage, X Factor went on the attack, and they were able to put up the first point. It was a 5-on-5 break in the second point, and X Factor again switched up the game plan and sent Archie Montemayor to the D side, and he quickly pushed into D3, with Nick Slowiak right beside him. But Eddie Painter had made an unseen move forward, and he caught Archie. Revo lost the advantage when Slowiak stepped up to shoot a body out of the back bunker on the Snake side. Randy Stancic had made his way into the Snake, and he pushed into Snake 3, but he was shot by Henry Sense, trying to look inside. Revo had the high body situation again, but Baylor Bernaccia got a shot on Zupa to even up the count. It was a slow, methodical, blow-for-blow point, and everyone was running low on paint. But Bernaccia stepped up again with a 3-pack to put X Factor up by 2 with 5:51 left. Revo answered back in the next point, shooting Archie Montemayor off the break, and though Stancic almost pulled off a counterattack, Revo pulled within 1. Things were looking good for Revo to tie when they shot Bernaccia off the break, and then took out Stancic to make it a 3-on-5 with just a minute left to close out the last kills. But Colt Roberts and Meter Ninos held out just long enough. Max Traylor and Eddie Painter got the last kills. They were still alive, but they didn't have enough time to hit the buzzer to tie. X Factor took the win with the lowest scoring game of the event and moved into the semifinals to play a young and hungry Seattle Uprising.
We just knew it was going to be grind of a match, and there were just a couple scenarios there where we maybe didn't make the best decisions. All the pressure's amped up, and there's 20 or 30 seconds left in the game, or just one kill makes a difference in a point. You have to be really, really critical about what you're doing.
Yeah, well, moving on, you guys will be playing Uprising, who we haven't seen in Sunday matches for quite some time. So how are you guys feeling about that match?
I mean, we're feeling confident. They're a really good team. We've practiced them earlier this year. We definitely are going in really confident. But that being said, this is kind of a weird layout. There's been a weird weekend so far. I'll say that. But ultimately, we're going to go out there, play our game, execute what we want to do, and hopefully our talent will just prevail.
After their 7th place finish in Vegas and their 5th place in Texas, the most legendary team ever to pick up guns, San Diego Dynasty, had been building up steam. In Philadelphia, they had a masterful performance in the prelim round. Everyone on the team had been on fire. But there is a reason you pay Alex Rodriguez. You pay him because when he's unstoppable, he is a murder machine. A-Rod put up 28 kills in the 4 prelim games as Dynasty coasted to a 4-0 record. They beat Damage by 2, Aftermath by 5, and shut out the ML Kings and Impact 6-0. In fact, Dynasty had outscored their opponents in the prelims 41-6 the past 2 events. But as we well know, the prelim round is just a prelude to the real show on Sunday. Would Dynasty have enough to defeat Damage twice in a row? After all, Damage had just warmed up in the wildcard round by sending Impact home. The first point started out the way almost all of Dynasty's points had started this weekend, by shooting a body on the break. They quickly got Blake Yarber and Yosh Rao into good position on the D side, as Keith Brown went into the Snake for Damage. It looked like Damage evened up the body count 4-on-4 by shooting Ryan Greenspan, but Greenspan was able to trade, and Dynasty still had the advantage. Tyler Harmon took the walk, and it was again even 3-on-3. Alex Rodriguez filtered over and aggressively pushed up the Snake side. Keith Brown counterattacked, but he didn't know Blake Yarber had moved up and was shot cross field. A-Rod ran through with a 2-pack of kills to finish the point and give Dynasty the early lead. Alex Rodriguez had been dominant with his off-the-break shots, and he stepped up again in the second point, shooting Keith Brown off the break. Dynasty methodically and aggressively pushed the whole field and won a perfect point with 5 bodies alive to take a 2-point lead. Even with the lead, Dynasty in the next point had a more aggressive break, sending Tyler Harmon to the Snake. They shot Dan Holliday out of his spot, and feeling no pressure, Alex Rodriguez went to the 50 center brick. Tyler Harmon, who had showed his versatility by playing the first attacker in the Snake all event, finished the point with a 3-pack to put Dynasty up by 3. Unfortunately for Damage, the rest of the game played out in similar fashion, and they were knocked out of the tournament. Dynasty would move on into the semifinals with their 3rd Mercy Rule finish in a row, having put up the last 17 points against their opponents. They would match up against the Russian Legion in the semifinals.
Smith on the D side, and here
A-Rod
comes
wants that one.
A-Rod. A-Rod's going to trade out and get another kill to pad his stats up here, making a real solid run.
We ended up halfway through Saturday playing just with 5 guys. We were already kind of on a light skeleton crew roster as it was. A-Rod was playing out of his mind. We were getting a kill off the break and playing 5-on-4 almost every single point, if not every single point. It didn't matter who we played. And I think that as Saturday, our 5 crew was clicking so well that we went on 2 back-to-back 6-0 runs, and then it went into Sunday, and we were facing off against Damage again in the morning, and it's kind of tough when you go into a Sunday without having a lot of adversity, right? So when you win 2 matches on the Saturday, 6-0, 6-0, you don't get a lot of looks, right, on the field. And we had played Damage before, and they gave us a close match on the Friday. I think it was like 4-2 or something like that. So, and that team has been getting better, and in my opinion, should be playing better at this point in the season as well. And they'd just gotten Joey Blute back, so that was kind of the thing, and that was like the talk of the town was, all right, Joey's back. We expected a stronger game, a stronger look at them, but we beat them 6-0, and I was smashed them.
The semifinal match between Russian Legion and San Diego Dynasty, a battle that has been raging for over 15 years between these 2 legendary teams, started out well for the Russians. In the first point, the Russians shot Yosh Rao off the break, but Kirill Peredny was clipped trying to get to the center 50, and the count was even. But a shot on Blake Yarber allowed Malloy the freedom to run up the snake side, and his crossfield shots were the ones that sealed up the early lead. The amazing run of points won had ended for Dynasty at 18 in a row. In the second point, the Russians quickly went up 3-on-5, spreading the field out wide. Dynasty couldn't get small enough to stay alive, and the Russians went up by 2. Legion was picking on Dynasty's D side. For the 3rd point in a row, Dynasty lost Blake Yarber early, but they answered back shooting both Smotroff and Malloy. It looked like Dynasty might squander the opportunity after Tyler Harmon drew a minor penalty, which pulled out Greenspan. Karslev saw the 2 bodies come off and he tried to get up the Dorito side, but Alex Rodriguez was looking that way and A-Rod got the free kill. It was 2-on-2. A-Rod then shot Kirill in the back center and finished off saving the point by shooting Sergey for kill number 42 in the tournament and the lead in the Top Gun race. The game continued to go blow for blow as Dynasty fought back until it was tied at 3 with 4:18 left to go. Dynasty lost their 1-body advantage when Yarber tried to creep outside and got caught. It was 4-on-4. A-Rod attempted to make a run up to the center 50, but Malloy was watching the lane, and he had another 3-pack to finish the point and take back the lead. Down 1, Dynasty came out aggressive, sending Harmon into the snake and A-Rod up to the center 50 again. The Russians came out very conservative, trying to hold on to their lead. Yarber drew a minor penalty, pulling out Yosh Rao, and then Greenspan walked off dead as well. Dynasty was forced to concede. Dynasty was left with 1 minute and 47 seconds left to score 2, just to tie. Tyler Harmon started it off on the snake side, running forward, but Yosh Rao chewed up bodies on the D side to score the point and give them the chance. The Russians could just not stay alive playing conservative in their bunkers. With 33 seconds left, Dynasty ran into the guns nobly. They couldn't find a way to crack open the Russian line. They died on their swords, and the Russians moved on to the finals with a chance to win 4 events in a row.
The one thing that we weren't prepared for on our end is if you're only playing with 5 guys and all 5 guys are playing every single point, then all 5 of those guys have to be hitting on all cylinders every single point. And I think that that's when we started to hiccup a little bit. We were up on the Russians every single point, or the majority of the points, and they either came back and beat us, or they were able to kind of fend us off a little bit better to even it up and then get that extra kill. And so we went down against them early, and then same thing, as soon as we got traction, we started coming back, and I think because we were playing tremendously, we were playing incredibly well. And I think that everybody on the team was very confident that we were going to win that event.
The semifinal match between Seattle Uprising and San Antonio X Factor started with Uprising taking a conservative break and X Factor risking Billy Bernaccia into the snake. He moved up, came over the top, and traded with Brandon Olson in the center. It was 4-on-4 until Meaner Ninos lost a gunfight. Colt Roberts took the walk as well. Uprising made the most of the high body situation and took the early lead. Both teams lost a body off the break in the next point. Colt Roberts took up the attack, and with Rainey Stanzik, they combined to tie up the game. Billy Bernaccia had been having success running the snake off the break all event, but he couldn't make it in point number 3. But Uprising lost their snake attacker as well. The teams continued to lose players moving forward, but Uprising played a bit tighter and took back the lead. X Factor switched Bernaccia to the center and shot 2 bodies off Uprising's snake side right at the start of the next point, trapping their other 3 players on the D side. Then Borromeo got clipped while doubling up at the tower. X Factor was in a position to tie when they received what could have been a momentum-killing penalty. But Bernaccia again rose to the occasion, and X Factor took the point. The game was again tied. Uprising died on their shots and took out Jesse Stevens trying to take ground. but Borromeo lost a gunfight and the count was even. Colt Roberts made a big move past the 50 on the D side. As Uprising was worried about Colt, Archie Montemayor pushed up the snake side, and he got a great shot on Graham Arnold, and then he cut to the inside to get a clean 2-pack to finish and take the lead 3-2. With the game on the line, Colt Roberts proceeded to put on a clinic. X Factor had lost Bernaccia, but Roberts, in what was becoming a habit, made another clutch shot at the exact right moment, this time on the attacking James Creek to even up the count. He then popped the top and got another kill to set up a 2-pack run-through as the game reached the 3-minute mark. Roberts was 2 steps away from getting 5 kills and 1 point. X Factor held on to defeat Uprising and make it into the finals, just 1 game away from a potential long-awaited win.
I mean, I'm not surprised, dude. If anybody does any good stats here, you go look back in the last 7 years, I've been in more pro finals than anybody in the league. I've won more pro tournaments in the last 7 years than anybody in the league. You name someone. They got less than me. Name someone. They've been in less finals than me.
We are in the finals of Philadelphia NXL Open, and it's not going to be easy. We have another Texans over here, X Factor, and X Factor are super hungry for that. They haven't been into the finals for a long time.
They've got a great starting 5, and they're all playing. Every single one of them is a weapon. I've been in 2 finals against them this year already in Europe, and we've gotten second both times, and ultimately it just came down to not being able to get them all off the field.
Weakness isn't Billy. I mean, Billy is their only threat at the snake, but a really good one. And if we manage not to make the same mistake as we did in the preliminary matches with them, there should be no surprises for us at the snake. So we'll focus this way, actually. We can't say that there are only 2 or like 3 best teams. Right now, we're gonna have like 6 best teams for sure. And all the scores, all the fight that you could see even on our side are proving this. There are no like stupid guys who are gonna be running around and just trying to shoot their guns. Everyone is having a strategy. Everyone is having some tricks. So paintball is getting even more interesting.
It's kind of like it's a learning process through every game. Every point it's a learning process to get to the final game. So if you're not learning through every point, you're losing it. We've done all the work that we've needed to do to get here, that's for sure. And I think a lot of these events are won during practices, not necessarily the events. At the events, you learn what you could do against teams, but you do all the work at home.
Russian Legion went into the finals in Philadelphia as the favorite. In the NXL Pro Leagues, Europe and the US, they had been steamrolling their opponents the past 3 events, with 3 wins so far. Vegas of 2018 was the last time that we saw X Factor in the finals. And the Russians also had a harder road to the final match than X Factor. But X Factor was due. They were playing some of the grittiest paintball of their long careers, with multiple players having big points. They had 5 years of frustration to take out on this one game. The finals in Philly would not disappoint. Also at stake was the Top Gun Golden Barrel Award, and Archie Montemayor started the game 8 kills behind Alexander Burtnikov.
We could see an instance where if X Factor wins the tournament, Burtnikov still wins the Golden Barrel.
Yeah, and I think Archie would gladly give up this barrel to get that cup. Russians, though, I mean, the reason why they are so consistent is because Alexander Burtnikov is just a miracle worker out there. He can go anywhere and everywhere. He can make bad situations good. To ask him to turn water into wine, and he might be able to do it if they win 4 tournaments in a row out here.
It began with a conservative break for both squads. The Russians were the first to start pressing forward. Jesse Stevens lost a gunfight in the backfield, and Colt Roberts got clipped trying to retake Stevens' spot. The Russians made the most of the 5-on-3, going on a full field attack and swarmed to take the first point. In the second point, after a 5-on-5 break, Malloy worked his way into the snake after losing Kirill Peridny. Nick Sloviak almost got the drop on Malloy, forcing him to commit on a run-through to try to shoot Rainey Stanzik. After dealing with that threat, X Factor was able to make the most of the 4-on-3, closing out the point to tie it up. For the next 4 points, nothing was working for the Russian Legion.
And then it was we just hitting them, just like they were in Dallas to us. We were shooting them off the break, we were making our spots, we were chopping them up. I mean, it was very, very one-sided. There was a couple of points that were kind of like boom, 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 and we ended up, winning that kind of pins crashing, in the alley. And then there was a big one-on-one that came down between me and Sergey. At the time, I was thinking we're blowing them up on this particular point. And then it was a one-on-one. Won that one. That was huge.
Oh, Archie trying to get a little bit closer. He's going to tactically retreat and go back after he realized that he was in an exposed spot. Sergey posted up. We've seen Archie in a lot of these. And then Archie Montemayor owns Sergey Solnaiskov in that one-on-one.
They kind of just, I remember I came off the field, I said, hey Ryan, give me a breather, right? We're up 5-1. I'll take a point. And he goes, are you sure? And I said, yeah, we're good.
Archie Montemayor had been steadily gaining ground on Malloy in the kill count Top Gun race, and was now just 2 kills behind. But as Legion had shown at the last event in Texas, if there is time left on the clock, then the Russians are never out. The score was 5-1, with 5 minutes and 52 seconds left. Forced into a relentless attack, they were running and gunning to every spot. The Russians picked up 2 quick points with Smotrop running lawless on the Snake side, and Karslev eating up ground and bodies on the D side.
Obviously the previous event they came back from 6-1 on it against Impact, so you could kind of see that they weren't quite ready to give up, and obviously they didn't.
But then X Factor's conservative break worked, and they made crucial shots on the rushing Russians to extend their lead 6-3. Still with 3 points to make up, the Russians continued to run into X Factor's guns. The next few points were a chaotic bloodbath, and the Russians were able to gain ground. Malloy made a perfectly timed run-through with 45 seconds left to pull within 1 and give his team a chance.
The move from Burnikov as he comes through. He shoots Billy. And I can't tell here because there's a shadow on Billy.
So Billy's calling himself out?
Yeah, Billy's calling himself out.
And then raises his gun and shoots Kirill.
That's a major penalty. I mean, come on, really?
100% that's a major penalty.
Yeah, it's a major penalty on Billy Bernaccia. But I can't believe Billy made that mistake. Deep into the finals, you have a lead.
That major penalty with like 40 seconds or something left in the game. I mean, I remember looking, I was right behind Billy when it happened. I was hoping that the other guy, I couldn't see what Kirill was doing, obviously, so I was hoping Billy's doing something that he warranted, or he thought was fair, and that the ref would agree with Billy on that one. Unfortunately, it wasn't. And, tie game, we play 40 seconds with 3. They tie it up, and then we're going to overtime. So it was a game that was completely ours and should have never gone to overtime.
In the last point of the tournament, Bernaccia went into the Snake off the break. Meteor Ninos doubled up the back spot and tried to fill forward, but he was shot on the transition. Malloy died out of his spot to even up the count. Archie then shot Karslev off the D side. Smotrop then made a bold move past the 50 down bodies to try to win the tournament, but he was stopped. It was down to a 2-on-2, Cole Roberts and Archie Montemayor versus Denis Golev and Sergey Solnaiskov. Archie pushed up onto the Russian side of the field, looking for a way to close. He shot Golev on the run, and then he traded with Sergey to win the event. He also won the Golden Barrel by just 1 kill.
I knew I could get lost, and all I have to do is make my first shot. So, knowing that, I think Colt knew that I knew that, and I made my move. I didn't miss my first shot, and basically it was Dennis. He wasn't ready for that move, and I nailed the shot. As soon as I did that, I said, this guy's close to me, he can't see me, I'm just gonna run right at him, take him off the field, and I know as long as Colt didn't just catch one, which I've had pretty good faith he didn't, that it was over. It was just a relief. I mean, that's the best way to describe, in my opinion, winning, because people don't, and this is the reality of it, people do not understand what we give up to do this, right? At a high level, what we give up on a day-to-day basis, and I understand maybe not everybody gives up the same thing, but I know what I give up, and it's a lot of time, energy, thought, relations, all kinds of things, money too, to be here and to do this as good as I possibly can.
You see Archie over there, and he is going to be taking home the Golden Barrel as well, edging out Alexander Biernikov with that last kill coming down the Dorito side. Actually, he got both kills.
Yeah, he got a 3-pack to win it by 1 kill. I couldn't have written this better. If I had spent hours crafting this story, I could not have crafted this in a better way to make it more dramatic. Unbelievable.
Oh, it's great, dude. I mean, personal awards in a team sport are great. They're cool. It's awesome, right? But, for me, yes, I have a barrel that's gold and it says what I did that weekend, but I know how many times I've earned that over the last 6 years, you know what I mean? And I may not have anything for it, and I'm okay with that, right? For me, being the ultimate personal award is winning with a team. You know what I mean? That says way more than I got the most kills at this event. It really does. The hardest thing to do is win an event.
Next time on 5 Sundays, the battle heads to the 4th event in Chicago. Could X Factor hold on and win 2 in a row, or would a new team step up to take the trophy?